Hello, friends, countrymen, Romans, Nigerians. I don't know, everybody. The Boytown podcast is
Yeah.
an inclusive place. Despite its name, everybody is welcome. And welcome to the podcast. We're back once again. I'm
For the
in my
Renegade
house,
Master.
the rented gay what?
I was going to say the Renegade Master, but then I remembered it's the
All
Rented
right.
Game Master.
All right, okay, no problem. Well, welcome to the podcast. As I said, I'm here in my house, Shane's in his house. Although the background, you could argue that you're maybe just in a different room of my house, but this is just a great secret we've been keeping this whole time. But welcome to the podcast. How are you, my friend?
Man, I'm good. I've got a new appreciation for you this morning because I know you're a man who likes to stick to his times. Okay, you're
Yes,
weirdly.
yes.
I was going to say you're anal about that. That's not the only thing
Don't
you're
worry.
anal about. But yes, you know you've worked with me here, and I
Mhm.
appreciate that.
No
And I think
problem.
this is a newfound zen that you've had from the fact that you're. Are you doing yoga now? Did you tell me?
No, I'm just trying to lose a bit of weight, which is a similar effect. You know, less fat makes you less angry, you know?
You know what I think it is? I think since you've been growing your mane really long, like
Mhm.
your hair, I think you're becoming a way more chilled out guy because
Yeah,
everyone knows scientifically bald guys are angry bastards, and
yeah,
I've noticed
stressed.
since you've grown the Hulk Hogan hair, you've just become a
Hey,
really chill
speaking of
guy.
Hulkster, I'm
Oh
representing the
no!
Hulkster on the T-shirt here today as well. Because I just feel
Why are you funding Hulk Hogan?
because he is my hair icon. You know, that's the
As
hairstyle
long
I'm
as that's
aiming for.
as long as that's the only thing you're taking
Yeah,
inspiration from
yeah.
the Hulkster from.
But I mean, he's been kicking about since 1979. You know that?
Yeah,
I don't know
he's
if that's the year he was born. I mean, if it is, he's had a tough paper round. But I mean, I think he's been on the scene since 1979.
Hulk Hogan's 10 years older than us.
Yeah, no brother, that would be quite a
He
shock.
literally could be our brother.
Yeah, that'd be one to explain, wouldn't it? But
Hulk
yeah,
Hogan.
so what was the situation with yourself? Is this something you want to lay out, or is this something you want to avoid talking about in the podcast? Like, what was the delay going on? What's happening with you?
No,
Let it.
it's all good, brother. I was basically up at hospital. We're having another baby appointment, and
Hmm.
but I mean, that's just any appointment I have at hospital because I
Yeah.
call everybody baby. But no, we just had a routine baby appointment, and they rumble on because I guess hey, I don't know if you know this, but the NHS are a little bit flat out at the minute.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was just a bit later than we thought, and NBC didn't like it. I was like a little I was an entitled Shih Tzu being left in a car with the window down. I was just sort of going a bit crazy in there.
Yeah.
But anyway, here we are. We're on the BTP, the Boytown Podcast, which I gotta say, the Boytown Podcast has been the David Batty of podcasts since lockdown.
And what do you mean by that?
I mean, number one, it's hard.
Mhm.
Okay, number
Okay,
one, it's hard.
it's for us both.
Number number two, it's doing a great job. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mhm.
minimum 7 out of 10 every week because
Mhm.
all pods have a bad week. We know that. But
Yeah,
the Boytown Podcast has been the holding midfielder of lockdown podcasts. I
I
would
think so.
100% say.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, some podcasts have just fallen by the wayside. Some have maybe been inconsistent, but Boytown's here on a split screen on a Zoom.
Do you
That's what
not
people
think it's
want.
weird that like people like had podcasts and then when lockdown started they've stopped doing? I can't think of anyone specifically, but like why is every comedian not doing a podcast in lockdown?
Yeah,
You and me combined we do 47 podcasts a week.
yeah. I mean, I feel like Zoom has maybe made podcasts easier overall because I mean, going forward, it means if we can't go to the studio or something, or we can't meet up, or obviously the time will come whereby you'll be welcoming your child, whether that be Maud, a female child, or Todd, a male child, or I don't know, Bod, if it's just not decided what it wants to be yet. So there, you might be able to get down to the office, which we're hoping we'll be allowed to get back into soon enough. So, I mean, I think you can bring people in. Obviously, guests have been able to come onto the podcast via Zoom, which is something we couldn't maybe have done before. So, I mean, I think Zoom is a useful tool for podcasts. Obviously, we'll want it to be back the way it can be, so we can be sitting there drinking tea together, annoying each other at the end of the table, socially distanced. But, Boytown Towers, I miss it. But I'm just pleased that rather than at the very start we had a decision to make whether or not we took a break or we just plundered on, and we're just plundering on. We're just trying to make Boytown great again.
I'm glad that we didn't take a break from this
I know.
because
I mean, I don't know if it
I'm
would
so
have.
buzzing. I'm so buzzing to actually get back in the studio and do it because
Yeah,
these have been like speak like blowing your own trumpet kind of thing. And by the way, I would if I could reach,
yeah.
but this has been great, and now I'm
Mm-hmm.
buzzing to get back in the studio. Whereas if we'd taken a long break,
Mm-hmm.
you imagine like 4 months without Boytown and then like driving down to the studio to do it, you'd just be a bit weird about going back to it.
Yeah.
But I feel very, very bisexual about it.
And I mean, I also think it's a wee bit like, in some respects, we have a bit of a duty to the citizens. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
people are very supportive of the podcast. They've helped us get to this point with Boytown and also with our own personal podcasts. So I think it would be a wee bit sly to just go, again, no pun intended, referencing my own podcast, but I think it would be sly out of
the
Monday
Sly
to
Man podcast.
something like that to just ditch them. You know what I mean? When the times are tough. And no, I don't think necessarily it's as fun a watch physically, not seeing us in the same studio space without that snake rat there just making all our bald spots and our blemishes pop out in his HD camera. But we're doing the best we can in the circumstances, and I do feel happy that we've done it. And pleased we've kept on going.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the highlights of my week is I'm doing the big shop in Asda and putting on my headphones and weirdly also chatting to you
Yeah.
is another one. Like I'm glad that you and I have kept up our thrice daily phone calls because there was definitely a period at the start of lockdown where we were talking to each other so much, and then we kind of just like everyone just got jaded with lockdown,
Yeah.
and then we stopped. I mean, we were having days when we were maybe exchanging 10 texts,
Yeah.
and that was it. But
Yeah.
now we've got really back into the swing of things, and you're looking at your watch there, waiting
Yeah,
for.
because what has happened there is I'm recording the podcast and my wife is not due home from work for like another hour, but she's just arrived. So if she makes a noise and disrupts this podcast, I will be really sad. So I'm just
Yeah,
going to
me
text her
too.
here. I'm just going to say, look, could you do the right thing and just stay in the car for like another hour?
Yeah, hey man, can I
And
ask
that'll
you?
do. Yeah.
You know the way you're growing the hair, but you don't
Yeah.
want to show your head. Would you
Yeah.
consider like a daishiki, or do you think it's a really, really bad time to bring something like that in?
What do you mean?
Like a do-rag?
I mean,
Do you
I,
think it's a good time or a bad time for
I mean,
Davey to the premiere of the do-rag?
I definitely think that people might have reservations about me sporting that look. I
Yeah, if
think,
you had a do-rag and I got my hair braided.
yeah. I mean, physically, like the time for us to do it, it would make sense because you have enough hair
Yeah,
that you could probably braid. I would need to keep my mane under locks, and a do rag would do that. But again, I think given the way the world is at the moment, I think it might be a bit too sensitive a time to start, sporting these relatively, controversial new looks.
do you know what I enjoy is that like whenever you see somebody like a white person get braids or dreadlocks or whatever, there's an outcry about it, and
Yeah,
99% of the people outcrying about it are white people. But what
yeah,
I enjoy is there's not like it's obvious that like white people like probably do have kind of like less style because no
yeah.
black guys are debuting the mullet. It's
Yeah, no,
not
that's true. Because I
or
mean,
like
I think
or curtains. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Personal
but
opinion.
again, like black people and white people have different genetic makeups, so different styles work on them. Obviously, like white people wouldn't have like as curly a hair as like black people would have. So obviously, a black
What about
person with a
Leo's
mullet.
hair?
Well, yeah, but again, it's not that tight afro. It's just like just curls he has. Whereas, like, if you were to like grow an afro hair and cut a mullet, it would be a real rigid style look. I would like to see it. Or you could go,
Be pretty sweet.
you could go the route of like a Cat Williams and just straighten that baby down and have really great hair. I need to say Cat Stevens again. I do that all the time. Someone asked me on the podcast once, like, "Oh, who's your favorite stand-up?" And I was like, "Oh, you've got to give props to Cat Stevens. Like, he's really
I
funny."
mean, I mean, going to getting their gigs confused would definitely be an eye opener for a lot of
Yeah.
people. You know, going to cat stations expecting to hear father and son, and
Yeah.
hear, I have Alizé. I don't drink Alizé, but bitches do. You know, it'd be
You'd
kind
be
of
like,
different.
he definitely sounds different in real life than he does in his records, that's for sure. Oh,
What about when Cat Williams, one of our favorite comedians, pulled over to the side of the road? I mean, he may well have been going through some serious
yeah.
bonds issues, but what about whenever he? And we should do bond thoughts later in this episode too. What about
Yeah.
whenever Cat Williams was driving through? I think it was Atlanta, Georgia, and he saw some kids like in like quite a rough area, like playing football. And he
Mhm.
pulled over like soccer, and he just asked him if he could get involved and play. And he's like, Cat Williams, like late 40s guy,
Yeah.
and he has like straightened long hair and like a lot of diamonds. And he started playing. He got into a row with some like 12-year-old kid and squared up to him and challenged him to a fight. And the kid got him in a chokehold. And
Yeah.
like, there's video photos of Cat Williams, like a 48-year-old man, getting
Yes.
choked out by a boy.
He's not having a good time. Like he was
He's
quite a
not.
character or cat, like, isn't he? Like I enjoyed.
Yeah.
Like I think he would have been very keen on maybe intoxicating substances for a while, and I think
Yeah.
maybe like there's that story about him just going around paying people at the comedy store because they're right for him, and they're like, I haven't, and he's just take that money, and they're like, nah,
He didn't know who he owed money to.
yeah,
If you haven't seen Cat Williams before, which is Katt, Cat Williams, um, check him on YouTube and see if you can find a clip where he's talking about Michael Jackson. Cat Williams, Michael Jackson is one of the best bits of stand up that you will ever see. The guy is just a total force of nature.
You know
And he
what
has some
else is
brilliant
really
stand up out
really
there.
weird? I just popped a grape in my mouth and then I whisked it around my mouth and made my face look really weird. Look at this.
It looks like you're taking a punch in slow motion.
Here comes.
This is premium podcast content.
Nice. I should probably not crunch my grape into the microphone. Let me just mute that real quick.
No, but that is a hell of a lot of fun. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed that. Really enjoyed that. Yeah, man. What's going down? What are you sort of feeling at the minute? What are you thinking?
I mean, that's a deep and wide ranging question. I was going to ask you first of all, before we got off the topic, is like
Good.
obviously you've been in the hospital with the baby. The baby is due soon. How are you feeling in preparation for that? How do you think obviously that the citizens are going to be asking, as in, is the man boy cheeky going to go offside for a while? And what's the crack with that? How are you feeling? How prepared are you? Or where's your head at in terms of impending
Well,
fatherhood?
David, you can tell by looking at me that I was in the Scouts. I
I mean, when you were that age, or
yeah,
just
when I was Scout
recently?
age,
Oh,
when
right,
I was
okay,
Scout
sweet.
age, I wasn't one of these adventure Scout guys. All right,
Do
but
you
I was
find that weird? Like, just whenever
100%,
guys, like
100%.
whenever people are like, "Oh, Bear Grylls is cool," and you're like, "Ah, he's the best scout," and you're like, "Who the fuck's
Yeah,
why is Bear
yeah,
Grylls still a scout? Is he
yeah.
not like 40?"
Be a man, join a paramilitary. If you're
Yeah,
still looking to carry it on at that
yeah.
age.
I mean, you could quickly rise up the ladder of paramilitaries if you were very talented, like a scout.
100%. Like if you were an expert at tying knots, it'd
Mm-hmm.
be like, fuck, no one here knows how to do it.
Imagine
You
how quick you
definitely
could scale a bony as well to put the flag on the top.
here. Do you know what's funny? You're not into Jerry Cinnamon, sure you're not.
No, I like cinnamon as a flavor, but not him as a singer.
Well, I like Jerry Cinnamon. I mean, the thing is, he's one of these guys who on
Are
things
you
that
going to out him as a
everybody
paramilitary?
likes. No, no.
All
Well,
right, okay.
potentially. I'll tell you in a sec. But basically, if you know who Jerry Cinnamon is, Scottish singer, and 9 out of 10 people are into him, which means makes a lot of people by default not into him. I actually do think is some of his music's very good. I like him. I'm a fan. But he has a song on his new album called The Boney. In fact, the new album is
Oh,
called The
wow.
Boney. But
Okay.
I think in Scotland there's, and just in general, bonies aren't just a Protestant thing, sure they're not.
Well, no, actually, in history, what a bonfire was at the very outset, hence the name. It's a book called a boney and a bonfire. they
You had to have a
used.
boner if they light the fire.
No, that only came later in the day. It was just actually
No pun
fires
intended.
made up of bones. Quite literally, it was just to like burn animal bones and things like that back in the day. And then people realize they're like, that looks pretty dope. Like, and then the present tradition of the bonfires, or the bonies as they're known, was actually there were beacons lit to light the orange troops up the loch. So that's where that came from. So yes, whenever people call it a bony, it's called a bonfire, but the origin is bonfire. Yeah. So, and I know that because I actually curate the UVF Museum in East Belfast. So I'm able to tell people a lot of history about about that time. So there you have it.
But he has a new song on his album called The
Mm-hmm.
Boney, and it's a brilliant, brilliant tune. Like
Mm-hmm.
really, really good music, like foot tapping.
It's
But
like
there's just no,
no.
but there's certain parts of it that I think if you were driving through different parts of Belfast and boys
Yeah.
didn't notice Jerry Cinema, you could be in trouble because it's like the chorus goes, "Believe and build your bonnet, build the bonfire big and high," and then he has a line. He has a line where he goes, it goes like this, and it's such a loyalist line. And I think Jerry Cinema might be Catholic, right? But the line goes, "You can build a bonnet. I can tell by the look in your eyes."
But what I love about him, like a lot of my friends who would be from the west of the city, would be primarily the ones who are big fans of Jerry Cinnamon. So me and can you
Yeah,
imagine them? They're like, oh, getting this new Jerry Cinnamon album, they're
yeah,
up and they're listening to it going.
yeah.
So yeah, I think it'll be eye opening. And I mean, I would definitely be keen for him to come to Belfast and sing it.
I
Just to
think he was
see how
supposed
it's
to be gigging
received.
in I think yesterday he was supposed to be doing a show in Belfast, and it
Yeah,
wasn't
I was
happening.
supposed to have
Blah, blah,
gone and seen Ramstein last week, but they had to cancel that because of coronavirus. Boo.
Rammstein, more like. I mean, I'm joking. I don't know any of their songs.
Yeah, but no, I mean, with Jerry Cinnamon, I mean, I obviously, you're a big fan. I'm a big fan of the Sunday papers. There was an announcement on the front of the Sunday papers that the 12th is back. Like, coronavirus was talking about cancelling it, but the boys are saying they're coming back. There's going to be
I have
bonies,
a
there's going to be
problem with one of the
parades.
Sunday papers.
Oh no, what is it?
There's just continual. They just keep doing in the showbiz section, just quoting from Tea with Me episodes where I've
Yeah.
interviewed someone,
Mm.
and they just put
That's
it in like,
that's the Sunday life. I mean, you shouldn't call them
yeah.
out in slander, but it's the Sunday life every week. Yeah.
So I was talking to the journalist who
Mm.
writes the column, and I was like, "Hi, because all you want is like a wee acknowledgement at the bottom. You
And
want money,
cash.
yeah.
Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
and gold. You want
Yeah.
bars of gold. But the minimum you want is like a fucking line at the bottom being like, this was said on the Tea With Me podcast, not a
I
line of
mean,
gear.
oh, and I thought you meant like a line for on the bottom. Like that's
No, no.
if you weren't locked down, that'd be a good way for you to have fun.
You want an acknowledgement of like, this is the podcast this is taken from. Um, but and anyone else that has done a story on that is based on the back of the podcast has credited it. Doesn't matter if
Yeah.
it's the Vulture or all these big type publications.
Mhm.
And then my local paper is not doing it. So I sent an email to the journalist being like,
Angry email, like were you
no,
cross bully?
not angry. No, I was just like Denzel on Training Day when no one backs him up and he's kind of,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
I was kind of like that. I basically said like, listen, I'm aware. I think I said like, I know this might be an error or whatever, but can you put in a quote if you're going to do this? Like, or can you quote the source? And the journalist came back and was like, yeah, we normally do this, but the editor might have left it out or whatever.
Oh, that
So
old chestnut.
fine, right? Then it happened again this weekend from a really old podcast.
Who was it featured this week?
It was the story was about Jamie Lee O'Donnell from Dairy Girls.
Yeah.
So this is the second time a story's been run on that, and that podcast is from like 3 months ago or 2 months ago. And so I sent an email today being like, why is this happening? It's just really bad etiquette because you realize that section is filled with stuff from other things.
And what did they say in response? So have you got back to you since the latest?
I haven't received a reply yet, but I just think it's kind of.
Did you send it to the journalist or did you go above their head? I'd go above their head.
I sent a journalist, but the thing is, I like the paper. Like you and me know, we like our Sunday papers. We like our local Sunday papers, and I buy that paper most Sunday, especially for the Irish League coverage. So
See, you
I'm
like
upset.
you
I'm
like the
upset.
Irish League coverage, and I like to know what those wee scamps are up to in the paramilitaries. That's
Yeah,
what I like to see.
it's bad etiquette,
It is, but
and it's bad etiquette. And it makes me sad,
well,
and it
what you
shouldn't
should
happen.
do, is discuss it on your podcast because no doubt if they're getting the quotes from it, they listen to it. So maybe just
Yeah,
talk about it on said podcast.
yeah, don't like it. I
No,
don't like
so
it
but we
at
deviate
all.
once again. So you're coming up, your first child's due. Where's the head at? Are you nervous? Are you excited? Are you just on
All of the
eggshells
above.
a wee bit? Like, because I remember
All
at
of
the
the above.
time I got mine very by surprise with Holly being born because we had to have a cesarean section because Holly was breech, and which means just sitting this way up normally, So we had to have a cesarean
Arms
booked in,
crossed.
arms crossed, not happy, and very sassy, and we were told basically the 15th of December, that's the day you're going in. So the week before we had to go for a wee checkup, and on that day, obviously, I was like, we'll go in, get sorted, work out the formalities for the following week, and then go in. And then the doctor was like, "Oh no, their foot's out." And I was like, "Classic." And then she's like, "No, I'm not joking, actually." And then me being me was like, "All right, okay. So what do we do? Go home and just rest, and then come back again next week because obviously it's coming up to the football." Christmas season, you want to try and get as many games in as you can. And they were like, "Nah, you're having a baby right today." And I was like, oh, nice. So, I just feel like with you, like your wife is looking very pregnant and ready. Like I'm a man that knows pregnancy, and I'm looking at her going, if you were to ring me today and go, Dave, we're heading in, I would go, yes, but also not surprised. It wouldn't be. So how are you feeling about that? Are you ready? Is everything in place that you need to do if she does go into labour after this podcast? Obviously, if she goes into it during the podcast, she just say wait. But
Yeah,
after, are you all set to go?
I'm good to go. I'm kind of as prepared as you can be, I think. Um, everything's packed, everything's ready to go. I've got all the essentials like my gluten-free hobnobs,
Mm-hmm.
my almond milk, all the stuff that you would definitely need,
Mm-hmm.
like
Do you have your full football
my
kit?
toiletries. I've got my football kit. I'm bringing my ball. Do you think that would be okay, just to like keep you
Well,
up?
I do think because of social distancing that there'll be less people in the wards and stuff, so you'll have more space to ping it about and help. But
Yeah,
um,
maybe some of the what do you call them? What do you call the guys who like
doctors,
maybe some of the porters will be up for a bit of a
mm-hmm.
kickabout.
Yeah,
Um, but no, I'm being serious. I'm nervous a little bit, but more excited
mm.
than nervous. Like I'm aware there's going to be stuff that I'm totally clueless about at the time, but
Yes.
I'm just going to try. I'm just going to try and enjoy it.
The good news is it's much more enjoyable for fathers to be than it is mothers to be. Obviously, because you're not having a baby taken from inside your body. But I would say to you, definitely enjoy your wee rests up until, uh,
I've been sleeping like a baby
definitely.
for the last
Um,
4 weeks, so
but then also, I don't know if particularly my nurses and midwives just thought it was funny to mug me off, but they just did basically take the piss entirely the whole way through of me, and that helped. But also, it was kind of like, they were just like, well, we could do it, but ultimately you're going to have to do it when you go home anyway. So it was like changing nappies and stuff. Like in the beginning, when you're just given a baby that you've never handled a newborn baby before, you're like, this is the most delicate thing in the world, and like I was trying to put Holly's like clothes on. It was like I was playing the game Operation. It was like going. And then the nurse just walked up to me and whispered in my ear, and she goes, "Mate, she's been pulled out of her body by a pair of prongs, or tongs, not prongs. Don't know what prongs are, but pulled out by a set of tongs." And I was like, "All right." And she goes, "You can put her arm in a baby grow." And I was like, "Don't
this
swear to me,"
midwife
but
sounds
yeah,
this midwife sounds well unprofessional. Here,
yeah.
mate, she's been pulled out by fucking prongs. What? Stick her arm in the fucking thing.
Yeah, and then after that, so I got her dressed and all, and then she'd done like her first outside of the body poo, first poo in her nappy, and the midwife was like, she goes, am I to fucking change her here, fuck's sake,
Yeah.
unless you want to, dickhead? And I went, oh, well, and she goes, oh, you're going to fucking have to, so come on. And then I followed her up, and again, I was like Picasso. I got these, you just have wee balls of like cotton wool because they're wee delicate bottoms, and you just have to. And it was just a very, but again,
Salt
once
bed?
once you get the first one done, it's like, all right, okay, I could do that now. Do you
I
know what
know
I
how to
mean?
do it. Yeah. How long before you felt like you knew what you were doing? Was it like hours, days, weeks?
Still don't. So you just kind of wing it as you go along. And like this week, I had a couple of things happen that were very traumatic for me. 2 days ago, like I've been,
Personal loss twice.
yeah, well, but second to that, right? But we, obviously, Catherine, my wife, is working still long hours in the hospital. Because as I said before, she's the main breadwinner. She's the frontline hero. I'm just the guy in the house looking after things, and I'm not even a good housewife at the minute. I'm a bad housewife. Need to get the Hoover out. Need to keep the house presentable. She's back early from work today, so I haven't even got the chores that are supposed to get done. So I'm going to get my bottom smacked. But the other day, I was just in making my breakfast, and Holly was watching the TV in the living room, and she came in choking, and I was just like, what, like panicked, and just had to get her across my knee and just pat her back as best I could. Luckily, there was nothing stuck in her throat. What she'd done was just poked her finger too far into her throat, so I was
Ah,
panicking. And then this morning, she came into me really in hysterics, crying, and was like, "Or my nose, something like stuck in nose." And I going, "Oh no, she got something shoved something up her nose." But what happened? She was like, had found this little bit of uh, like it's like a wee bit of like strawberry in a yogurt covered, and she had hidden in her oven from yesterday. So she had found it and just had been holding it, and like the yogurt had melted in her hands. She had like put a bit of the melted yogurt, but there's me thinking there's like an actual square raspberry up her nose, and she's really panicked and hysteric about it. And I'm trying to keep calm, and it's not sweet. Like it's very, very stressful. And then you're like, do I take her to hospital or not? And then I just made her blow her nose, and thankfully all was
but do
fine.
you feel like just genuinely like or generally like handling things like doing the change and doing the
Mm-hmm.
feed if you ever did that? Um,
Oh,
do,
literally a couple of days she was there, and she just wasn't taking breastfeeding at all. So after maybe a day at home, I was able to do feeds. And then with that, obviously, this is another thing, Mister. You'll need to learn. You
life
need
hack?
you need to be willing to compete against your wife in terms of sleep chicken. All right, because that's a thing. Like there's been times you hear the baby crying.
Explain this to me.
Sleep chicken is a game that like you wake up and you hear the baby, but obviously you're exhausted, she's exhausted. You want to pretend you're still asleep. Do you know what I mean? And the other person will wake up and then go to the baby. However, I quickly discovered that my wife was just playing me at that game way better than I was playing her. Because if I like she would wake up, I would listen, and if I knew if she was like silent, she was awake. Because if she's asleep, you'll still be breathing all. But we're both pretty stupid, so when we woke up, rather than just pretend we're still asleep, we would just hold our breath. So both just of us silence a bit, and that's when I would know. But every time I got up to feed that baby, she would move in bed afterwards. So I knew she was just getting comfortable. So I knew she'd. But again, I just have better hearing. So more often than not, I would get up and do night feeds. Then I get into a routine of um, getting her up, going downstairs, and just watching, like giving her a feed and watching. Like I got through about 4 series of Breaking Bad, just doing those like 4 a.m. night feeds. Like so, that was kind of good.
Could you do any stand up writing when you're doing that? No.
To be fair, no, not really. I didn't because again, you're so zoned out. You know, you're like again, that's the biggest fear, trying to make sure whatever like position you're in with the baby, you don't fall asleep. And if you like, I think I've maybe fallen asleep once with her, but in the point that if I did fall asleep, she was safe and I wouldn't like drop her or
Yeah.
fall on her or suffocate her or anything. They're all the worries you have to do. But you know, you have to adapt to the situation and then make it like work for you. That's how I would describe it. Like how to, and now thankfully with a decent routine and it's great. And again, I think it's great now. I've kind of got the hang of having a child, and of having another one in late September, which is going to fucking ruin everything again. But
What do you think you will do differently um, from first baby to second baby?
definitely no more.
Do you think you learned
Definitely.
any lessons? Like a friend of mine said about the amount of times him and his wife like changed nappies. He's like, oh, the
Mm-hmm,
first baby, you were talking like 20 times a day. He's like, second
mm-hmm.
baby, four. He's like,
Yeah.
you get a lot more like oh, okay, this is overkill. You know, I don't need
Mhm.
to do this as much, or
Yeah,
I guess first time you're almost too
I
careful.
think it's like say you're doing a show, like a gig, you always like to know the venue you're doing. Do you know what I mean? Like if you go to a venue and you don't know, you're always more nervous to know the lay of the land. If you know, like I always find if I'm
Yeah,
doing a
yeah,
show, I like to see where the stage is, I like to see where the audience will be, figure all that out in my head. Whereas like with a baby the first time, everything you're getting is new to you. You know, you can read the books. I'll give you a spoiler. I didn't. You can look at the online videos. Spoiler, I didn't. But nothing will teach you what your own child's like. So you just have to figure it out. So I'm hoping this one will be like again. Holly was a good baby for sleeping and stuff. So I'm hoping this one is as well. But I mean, this time around, I'll know what they need to do with bottles. I'll know how many I need to feed. And know how to change nappies, all that jazz. What they eat, how to like hold them. Like that's another thing you forget. Like I forget how little a baby is. One of my friends had a baby just before the lockdown. And whenever I went over to see it, I forgot how wee it was. You know, because I have like a toddler now. You just throw over your shoulder, and but then
yeah,
you have
yeah.
a baby, you have to like hold its wee head and all, and like have the wee book rag and stuff. And that's another thing I'd say to you: wear more clothes that you're prepared to get vomited or pooed on, because
No,
you know
no. I'll
I'd
just wear a
say
full hazmat suit.
yeah, well, that's fair because they're great, but also hard work. But once you start figuring it out, it's good. Like it's nice to have a
Yeah.
child. I love it, but again, it takes a bit of time
Oh,
adjusting
this is it.
the new schedule. So what are you most excited about? And then on the flip side of that, what are you most like terrified about, if you will?
I'm most excited about the idea of like a walk with the wee baby carrier on.
Mhm.
I
Oh,
think that is adorable.
yeah, I'm going to
Um,
just come in there and say those babies look far sweeter than they are. After a while, they're sore in the back, and you're like, just stick it in the pram, just stick it in the pram, would you
right, right,
please?
right. Well, I was
Mm,
excited about that. What I'm least excited for or most nervous about is the first nappy. Like you say, I think I'll be okay
mm,
once I've done the first one, but I've never done a nappy before. I've never really seen in one
yeah,
even. And I'm nervous about the first couple, and then I think
yeah.
that'll be dead on.
Like I think as well you have to like I would have always been quite grossed out by stuff. Like see one of the worst things I remember one of my friends, we were driving, I think we were over in Scotland watching like golf, the open golf, and one of my friends was driving on this really big motorway, and he had for some reason picked the bogey, but he picked the end of it and then just pulled a big wet bit, and it was making me feel really 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 sick. And then like the thought of it was really turning me, and I thought he got rid of it, but he just stuck it in the dashboard. And then I hadn't realised, and I looked around and saw it. And then I had to open the window and be sick out the window because it was so gross to me. And I had to throw it out the window. And then when I was sick out the window, the smell of my sick made the guy in the back be sick. So then we had to pull over the car, and all of us were just being sick. It was horrible. But like, that was,
See that friend who did the
yeah.
bogey? What does his first name begin with, or what is it? What do you call him?
He's not known by his first name.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that was my first guess, and that's
Yeah.
fucking gross that he did that.
Oh no, it's not Maka. Just before
Oh, okay.
you think
Oh,
no.
G.
Pardon, no, his first name's Michael, but
Oh
he
yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so there was that, but that was horrible. But then again, fast forward to whenever you have a kid, we're in there. Holly's about a week old or 2 weeks old. We're getting her like newborn photo shoot, and she just starts to poo, really wet diarrhea. And my first reaction is to just cut my hands and collect all this diarrhea in my hands and not give a second thought about it. So the look of a bogey made me have to be sick and pull the whole car over, whereas I could quite
Yeah.
happily catch. And that's just it. You need to sort of realize that they're such little helpless things. You have to just, and I've been vomited on. That's disgusting. This morning I had just nose gunk all over me because she'd stuck the yogurt up her nose, and it was just that's so horrible. But the worst
Oh
thing that
no.
has ever happened to me gross wise with having a child was like Holly would eat blackberries and blueberries because blueberries quite a lot, like they're her would be one of her favorite things. And whenever she was a bit younger, I'd seen one of her blueberries on the ground, and I picked it up and just popped it in my mouth. It was actually a tiny bit of poo that had fallen out of her nappy, and it was only whenever I went to crunch into it I realized, oh no, and that was basically, I think that happened like a week after the time, or a week before, I think, the time when we were at our old studio, and I lick the actual human poo as well. So I mean, I've had a bad couple of weeks of it, but yeah, it was pretty gross. So yeah, I think you as a man, it's very
Clean.
clean and against gross things. You're going to have to just get used to it, like, because it's going to get gross.
Speaking of gross things, let's get involved in some listeners' questions here.
Yeah, let me see what we're like for time.
I'll do Twitter.
Okay.
So let's see what we've got coming in hot on the BTC Boytown questions. I mean,
The
to say this, we
BTQ.
might have one. We've got 4 questions. Craig Johnson says, "Hello, the Harold and Madge Bishop of Northern Ireland. On the East Belfast mix idea, me and he's tagged his mate, brainstormed a show called Stakes. Happy for you to pursue under the condition the main character Ballbeg is included. He's the arsehole mate who's always been your friend and you don't know why." See, here's the thing, Craig. I don't know if it's gonna sell worldwide. I think it might be a hit locally, but the money toad and Papa Bear are all about that cash and that honey. So I don't know. I feel like you guys adapt it yourselves. Get a pilot made, get a production company interested, and then if there's money to be made, that's when you get in touch with us, and then you outsource us to come and be in it, so we can have that conversation down
Hold
the
on a
line.
second. I just think I hear her.
That's right. Go ahead.
No.
Go and check it out.
No, it's sweet because
Right,
again we forget my wife's here, so
true.
Papa's
Phil
working.
says, "Greetings to the Fountain of Wayne and the Beast of Bangor. Just wondering if you guys have a date or a rough time frame for returning to Boytown Towers. I watch a lot of podcasts, and this Zoom caper has to be annoying you guys more than it does me." Phil, also, be grateful for what you're given, my friend, because we're 2 responsible guys, and we will return to Boytown Towers whenever the fuck we want to return to Boytown Towers. No, hopefully it will be. In fact, no, it won't be a while because there's babies on the scene.
Yeah.
It could be a while, let's just say that. But what I will say is, honey, we just have to adapt.
Yeah.
And it's not all about you, and we do appreciate you being a listener. But at the same time, honey boo boo, you're being a little bit ungrateful.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, let me just say this: you better be a Patreon for giving off about the look of the podcast. That's all.
Yeah,
That's
because
all
on Patreon you do that weird thing you do. You know that like background. Can you do it now to show people how that works? Just to show people what you do for the full Patreon.
Basically, I like to have what is called a virtual background. So that is when you green screen your background. So I'm not gonna spoil this one for you guys, but basically all you need to know is that a virtual background, and I don't even know what this one I had is. This is just an old photo actually I had knocking about whenever I, as you can see there, was on holiday a couple of years ago.
I mean,
But
well, lift your arm up. That's even better. Your arm's doing it as well.
hold on.
Oh no. I mean, if you were to lift your shirt up and just be topless, you could basically see that full scene, which would be quite a oh no. Oh no. I mean, for the audio listeners, definitely go watch this YouTube clip because this is really funny.
Definitely enjoyable.
Correct. Can you stop that now, please? Right.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, but we'll figure out when we're back when we can. But obviously, at the minute, it is very difficult to figure these things out. Okay. We've got one more. No, we've got a couple more actually.
Right. Definitely put your actual face back, please.
Okay. Sorry.
So
2
weird.
seconds. Okay. Okay. This is from Rebus.
Do those eyes again. Open your eyes as wide as you can. Oh, right, that's so freaky.
Okay, Reba says,
Oh,
oh, this is even freakier, this one. The ET filter. Reba says, Heidi hi to the power behind the throne and Shinny Boy Cute Cute. Here in New Zealand, things are fairly back to normal after COVID. Great to hear. People are getting back to doing what they miss, like Nando's and beers with their bros. I don't know why that made me laugh so much.
with their
People in
brewers.
New Zealand, I can't wait to get back to beers with my bros. But what from lockdown has been class you think you'll miss? First of all, Rebus, I like a lot about that. I like that you're a big friend of the show. I like that you've addressed this in the right way. I like that things seem cool in New Zealand after lockdown. And I like that you like Nando's and beers for your bros, because I like those things as well, and so does Davey. So
Mhm.
what do we think we'll miss about lockdown?
I will miss spending time with my daughter all like all day, every day. You know, I'll miss that. It's been good. Again, I reckon her intellectual growth has been stunted immensely by just seeing me all day, every day. But no, I'll miss that. I'll probably miss, like, appreciating the little things, like getting out for a walk for an hour a
Yeah,
day.
no one's doing that post lockdown.
No one will be. It'll be like, I walked from the car to the office. I'll do, so three things like that. And also just, I guess, I don't know. I wanted to come back to normal, but again, lockdown's for me, it's a very, like, there's either ultimate really great highs of enjoying yourself with your family and things, or there's lows. You're never just fine. You're always in really great form or terrible form. So I'm looking forward to that balancing out a bit more, getting back to a bit more normal.
Next question says, just want to say, not enough credit is going to you guys. This is from LMJ, who's
Mhm.
LL Cool J's brother, and he
Yeah.
says, just want to say, not enough credit's gone to you guys for the work you've been putting in during lockdown. What's been the hardest thing for you to deal with during lockdown? Keep her lit. The podcast lads have been class. Well, we appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
And you're right, not enough credit's been given to us, so give us more. Davey, I'll be back in 1.5 minutes.
Where are you
But
off to?
there's a guy in the street that I need to tell something about. He's a builder, and I need to mention something about the side of my house. It's very important.
All right. Okay.
You
So,
answer this one.
okay, that last one. I mean, I'm going to just say, to be totally honest, he was so busy being distracting that I don't actually know what what that question was. So, what I will do myself is go into the podcast questions and see what exactly that was again, because he was so distracting. Let me see. What's the hardest thing to deal with? Also, my hair. Probably my hair is not thick enough on top to be a great glorious mane, and it's too thick at the sides and back, so it looks like I've got some kind of weird nest thing going on in my head. It's too long, it's too scruffy. My beard is disgusting. I just think that I like to have a tight haircut, and that's been a struggle. Also, just being inside, like, so there are days that I maybe don't go outside for like 2-3 days in a row, and that affects the balance. So yeah, that's probably been the toughest thing. But I'm working from home. 10 out of 10. Absolutely hate working from home. So Mike Hilton has said, good morning, hunkos. What's the worst item of clothing that you used to think was pure fresh? I'm sure Shane could probably take this question and ride it till the cows come home. But for me, I remember I had a jacket, like, back in I'm talking 90s here. Would have been would have been about maybe year, say about 2000. I must have been about 13, and it was this. It wasn't even a jacket. It was like a coat, but it was made out of like soft, like fake leather, like soft fake leather, but it was like navy and red and like a puffer look. So it wasn't very fashionable. It was like something the Notorious B.I.G. would wear in a video of Missy Elliott, but yet I wore it as if it was a legit piece of fashion. And the question there, Shane, can you hear me?
Yep.
Do you have any fashion faux pas that you have, any items of clothing that you once thought was super fresh, whereas now if you look back you go, oh no, not even that full mod flare outfit that you did that really bespoke unauthorized modeling shoot with? And I say modeling shoot, you probably just got a friend to come and take photos of you like throwing stones into the sea and like hiding on fences and stuff. None of that gear?
No, I don't think so.
Sweet. Well, what I can do if you want, I can make up a montage of all those photos and put it in the Boytown Twitter. Would that or the Boytown Instagram? Would that be sweet?
Very sly. Yeah, in terms of real bad faux pas, when you look back though, everyone was doing it. Was flared. Anything flared
Yeah.
wasn't great, to be honest.
Right. Okay. Next question is from Matthew Mernon.
Good morning.
What's your guilty
Sorry,
pleasure?
my mic's way over here.
Oh
That's
yeah,
very.
yeah. What's your guilty pleasure on YouTube?
Oh, old football, like old football moments, basically. Like the likes of BT Sport and Sky, mainly BT Sport, do really old highlights, which is pretty class. So I'll go back and watch those, and I can lose a lot of time doing that. What about you?
I like a lot of like rock and roll type stuff. So I would watch maybe like I like drums. I like to watch people do like drum solos. So that leads into like a lot of sort of rabbit hole stuff. And I mean that's really nice to see. Very strange, but really nice to see. Yeah, so you can tell what sort of rabbit holes you go down. We're looking at some of your backgrounds there. But next question is from VDub Boy, and it actually looks like you are a different race when you do that. It's weird. Like there's a wedding ring and on the finger there. What VDub Boy said, what did Snake Rat Ben do to get the sack as producer?
You don't want to know. You don't want to know. It's a difficult one for us to talk about, Dave. I think it'd be better to just move on maybe with the next question.
Yeah, probably Rory Miller, or as he's known, Roy Miller, has said, "Good morning, Emperors of Man Milk. Great to have the Premier League back." I disagree with that actually, just off the bat. And the fact that you can hear everything said in the pitch is a bonus. My highlight so far has been Southampton's goalkeeper slicing a clearance and shouting "ah fuck" with the commentator having to apologise. That bouncy haired bandit, David Luiz, doing his best to be booted out of London was also a highlight. But what I want to know is who's going to make it from NIH and Supremo Keith Cruz's books. Hashtag where's Bunter? Hashtag yeah.
Just Bunter. I mean, you got to keep the fans happy with these answers.
Mm-hmm.
Bunter's going to make it. Bunter Castles. Keith's loving it.
Recently talking to a girl off Tinder and then Snapchat and getting on really well. So I send her a picture of my, 18-year-old Labrador dog sleeping because she's cute. She replies with, and then tells me she doesn't like dogs, especially older dogs. Then after a few more messages, I still can't hack this at all. So I just ended it. Just want your opinions on was I justified in believing that she could be a serial killer? Much love, amigos.
I mean, I'm not big into dogs, Dave, as you well know. I will tolerate some dogs, and there's a couple of guys I think are pretty sweet, but in general, I'm not a big dog guy. That's when like I heard the Baha Men song, I was like, who did? I was looking around, kind of paranoid. But I don't know.
If you're a doggy man and she's not a doggy woman, then there's going to be some doggy problems. So I mean, if you're going to marry this broad, you want to maybe have similar interests. You probably want to settle down, have a house, have a family, have a dog. And if she doesn't want to have a dog and slagging off your dog, then she's not the woman for you. Also reported to the PSNI if you think she's a serial killer. Again, obviously, I don't think it's enough to say because she doesn't like dogs she's a serial killer, but maybe if you have any other inklings that make you think she's a serial killer, definitely report her to the PSNI because you don't want weird things to start happening. Is my advice. But guys, I feel like that's the end of the podcast. It's been a nice time. It's been good chatting to you. Again, you might be here next week, you might not, we don't know, but hopefully we'll be back in the towers within the next month or two, I would like to think, because you sit at one end of the desk, I can sit at the other. We are open to new producers because, of course, we have ousted Snake Rat Ben. It'll probably be news to him because he is actually going to be producing this episode. But
still producing,
yeah. Don't worry about that. And also, just look at the merch on the Facebook page, which we're getting rid of. We're transferring everything to Instagram because Facebook's shit. And also subscribe on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, wherever else, and just enjoy the podcast. All right.
Can I mention, Davey, I relaunched my website, which is theshanetodd.com, as in theshanetodd.com.
Not the Shane Todd, the guy who was killed.
No, no. The guy's
Okay,
very much
sweet.
alive and kicking,
Nice.
like my man Jamie Thigson. My tour's been rescheduled, and all the new dates are on sale there. Theshanetodd.com.
Nice. Right. Okay. Other than that, good evening and see you next week.